Branches breathe when you're not there. Turn the key, the shadows talk back. Midnight rings you if you're dead. One more line, one more flight into the weird unknown. It's out tonight, and the rainbows of
Good evening, esteemed readers and brave companions of the long dark road. Welcome back to Desolate Tonight. In the shelves that spiral endlessly above us, we find every kind of story, the comforting, the grand, and tonight we find one that is truly, deeply forgotten. We leave behind the Victorian city bells of Dickens and travel further back to the freezing, isolated Yorkshire Moors of 1823. Tonight, we're here at the Witches' Centre and Cafe, reading Piece of Anonymous Christmas Folklore, The Witch of the Withering Hand, also known as The Dead Hand. This is a story that has everything a good, cold winter tale needs: a relentless blizzard, a desperate young officer seeking shelter, a lonely ruin, a flickering Yule fire, and a local bargain gone horribly, eternally wrong. Above the door of the ancient tower where our hero seeks refuge hangs a withered black severed hand, and tonight, on Christmas Eve, that hand has a score to settle. Almost no one has heard of this genuinely chilling tale today, but it's 100% public domain and 100% perfect for our anti-traditional Christmas Eve. Join me now as the wind howls and the fire dies, and we begin our descent into the old dark magic of the Moors. It was on Christmas Eve, and a bitter one. The snow had fallen without intermission for 24 hours, and the wind still came howling from the northeast, driving the flakes before it like dust from the mouth of a furnace. The roads were blocked up, the sheep lay buried in the drifts. The very rivers were bound in chains of ice, and the oldest man in the parish said he'd never known so terrible a storm. I was then a young officer in the 9th Dragoons, quartered at York, and having obtained leave of absence for a few days, I had set out on horseback to visit an uncle who lived upon the borders of the forest of Daltrib. Night and the snowstorm overtook me many miles from any house. My servant had lost the road, the horse was well nigh foundered, and I myself began to feel the numbness of extreme cold creeping over me, when, through the driving whiteness, I dimly descried the outline of a tall ruin rising black against the sky. It was the remains of an ancient watchtower, once, they said, belonging to a castle long since leveled with the ground. The lower part was still entire, and the door, though hanging loose upon its hinges, yet afforded some shelter from the wind. I contrived to force it open, led my horse inside, fastened him as well as I was able, then groped my way up a broken stair which round the interior of the tower. I had mounted but a few steps when a faint light glimmered above me. I went on, and reached the first floor, found myself in a small chamber, the walls of which were hung with rusty arms, and in the center of which blazed a handful of wood upon a stone hearth. Beside the fire sat an old woman, withered and shriveled as the trunk of an oak blasted by lightning. Her skin was of the color of parchment, her eyes gleamed under their shaggy brows like those of some wild animal. and her long gray hair hung in matted locks over a cloak of coarse frieze that scarcely covered her bony shoulders. She was turning a spit on which something was roasting, and ever and anon she muttered to herself in a voice that sounded like the wind among the chimneys. Over the narrow chimney-piece, nailed to the wall by a huge horseshoe nail, hung a black and withered human hand. I stood for a moment upon the threshold, uncertain whether to advance or retreat. The old woman raised her head, fixed her keen eyes upon me, and said in a low, croaking tone, "Come in, Master Soldier, come in, and welcome. You're the first living creature that has crossed my door this many a year. Sit ye down and warm yeself at the fire. It's warm enough and to spare, and accepted the invitation, for I was half dead with cold, and seated myself upon a block of wood opposite the hag, stretched my benumbed limbs to the blaze. She continued to turn the spit in silence for some minutes, then suddenly looking up, she said, "You'll be hungry, master, after your ride. There's a fine fat goose here. 'Twill be ready soon. And we've eaten and drunk. I'll tell ye a story to pass the time, for it's a long night and a lonesome." I thanked her, though little disposed to eat of her fare, and asked her how she came to inhabit so desolate a place. "Long habitation makes all places home," replied she. "I have dwelt here these 50 winters, and here I hope to die. This tower was my cradle, and it shall be my coffin." She then relapsed into silence, and I, having nothing better to do, fell to examine the chamber and its contents. The arms upon the walls were of ancient fashion, some of them richly inlaid with silver. A helmet, a cuirass, and a long two-handed sword hung over the chimney, and the black hand, as I have said, was nailed immediately above them. The old woman observed my glances, and a grim smile passed across her countenance. "Ye are looking at the hand," she said. "It was hung there many a year. Would you like to hear how it came there?" "Most willingly," I replied. "Then listen," said the hag, drawing her seat closer to the fire, and lowering her voice to a whisper that made my blood run cold. 50 years ago, some Christmas Eve, this tower belonged to Sir Ralph de Vere, a proud and wicked man who oppressed the poor and feared neither God nor devil. He had one daughter, the fairest creature that had ever sun shone upon, called the Lady Alice. Many suitors came for her, but she loved none of them save a young gentleman of small estate, one Master Evelyn, whom her father hated because he was poor. On the Christmas Eve of which I speak, Sir Ralph held high revel in the castle below. The snow fell then as it falls tonight, and the wind howled round the battlements. Master Evelyn, having been forbidden the house, came disguised as a wandering minstrel, and stood without in the courtyard, singing beneath the window of his mistress. The Lady Alice heard him, and moved by love and pity, let down a cord from her window that he might climb up to her chamber. But Sir Ralph, returning earlier than was looking for the banquet hall, discovered the youth in the very act of ascending. Mad with rage, he drew his sword and smote off the hand of Master Evelyn where it grasped the sill. The poor gentleman fell backward in the court, and the snow was dyed with his blood. The severed hand remained hanging by the glove to the window ledge. The Lady Alice, seeing what was done, uttered a large shriek and fell as though dead. Sir Ralph, still in his fury, tore the hand from the window, and flinging it to the old nurse, who was myself, then young, bade me nail it above the chimney in the tower, that it might never more clasp the hand of his daughter. I did his bidding. The same night the Lady Alice died of grief. Master Evelyn was carried away by his friends, and was seen no more in this country. Sir Ralph lived but a 12th month after, and then died suddenly, without priest or sacrament. The castle fell into ruin, and I alone remained to keep watch over the tower and the hand that hangs above the hearth. Every Christmas Eve since then, at the same hour, the hand is taken down from the wall, and the fingers move, and the arm stretches itself forth as though seeking its lost body. I have seen it 50 times, and tonight it will move again. Look!" She ceased speaking, and at the moment a low sound, as of a groan, issued from the chimney. The fire burned blue, the brands fell together, and the withered hand unclosed its fingers, and slowly, slowly descended from the nail. I started to my feet in horror. The same old woman sat motionless, her eyes fixed upon the hand, which now hung down by her side, the fingers quivering as though alive. "Fear not," said she, "it will not harm thee. It seeks only its owner." The hark, the hour strikes. The ruined tower had no bell. Yet at that instant I distinctly heard the sound of 12 strokes as from some distant steeple. At the last stroke the hand rose, pointed towards the door, and then fell powerless upon the hearth. The old woman arose, took it up reverently, and replaced it on the nail. "Another year is gone," said she, "and the spell's not yet broken. Fool Master Evelyn, poor Lady Alice, may heaven have mercy on their souls." She then resumed her seat, and without uttering another word, continued to turn the spit as before. I sat beside her till the storm abated, and the first faint streak of dawn appeared in the east. Then, thanking her for my hospitality, I took my leave. My horse was rested, the snow had ceased, and I reached my uncle's house in safety. I had never since passed that way, but I had been told the old woman was found dead in the tower on the following Christmas morning, and that the withered hand was gone. And so the bargain is sealed, and the snow falls silently on the moor. The ancient folklore reminds us that long night of Christmas Eve is a time when the veil is thinnest, when bargains made in desperation come due, and when things we nailed down sometimes find a way to walk again. Thank you for joining me for this descent into the dark magic of the Witch of the Withered Hand. Thank you for reading with me here in this endless library. May your hearth be warm, may your bargains be honest, and may everything you nailed down stay exactly where you left it. Good night, good luck, comment, like, subscribe, and happy haunting reading.
Rockets resting in green afternoon light. Typewriters dreaming all through the night. A smiling sun hangs on a cardboard sky, where the future got lost but never learned to die. Unseen visions burning bright, Bradbury's ghost on SL tonight. Open the page, let the wonder ignite. Welcome to SL.